we enjoyed it. So the next time we'll have Kayla, you know.
Yeah, that's right. We gotta get Kayla.
We gotta get Kayla.
To our war room.
Yeah. We call it the war room. You know, we've had many good events.
Right.
And good sessions
at Joanne's house,
and you know, and sometimes we back it up with a little libation, exactly. And then we get real lively.
Most times.
And debating.
Most times, Kayla. Most times.
in debating, okay, we debate an awful lot. So, yes. And so we've had a very interesting week, and. The last time that we were together, we talked a great deal about our support for Rochelle Bilal and our support for Tracy Gordon.
Yes, indeed.
And how we want these two African-American women to be able to be strong in their positions in the office and to show not only Philadelphia, but to show the nation that these two offices can be run and successfully run by black women.
That's right. And it's long overdue. And I think the fact that we have these two strong women, we certainly plan to support them in every way we can. And that's what we've been talking about for the last few months, is it's our time. It's time for black women to step up and take on these roles, because we see what's happening out here. And if we don't get in these positions, I don't know who's helping our community. So I really think that it's very exciting that we have both Tracy Gordon and Bilal, and Rochelle Bilal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful, and our goal, our mission, is to see to it that they get into office like everybody else, and that they don't have people trying to usurp their power. And I think that's what it sounds like. Some of the things that have been taking place in this community is that as soon as a black woman gets into a position, they want to either malign them with some kind of negative characteristics about them or negative character stuff, or they want to deplete their power, the power of the office. And that's what we're not going to stand by for and allow it to happen.
And the thing that we talk about all the time, it's how you write a story. When you're going to write a story about Tracy Gordon, and you're going to talk about what happened to her in the past.
Right.
And when you look at folk who, in the white press, who write stories, the first thing that they want to do is go pick at a sore or pick at something which has nothing to do with the current set of circumstances, or blow it out of proportion.
Yeah.
As to, and then when you look at the infraction, it's no different than many others. I'm totally amazed that will they write a story with respect to other folk and say, oh yeah, but you know, he had been indicted. And so we never hear that. But if you do something as if you didn't file something on time, that becomes the biggest story in the world.
Right.
What that had to do with it, I do not know. And then you wonder why no one wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one wants to talk to the press.
To the press. Why would you want to talk to people who have no interest? You don't want a human interest story. You want a I gotcha story.
Yeah, that's what they want.
And demonize them.
And demonize.
Demonize the person and put them in a position where they have to defend something that has nothing to do with the current state of affairs, which is they have been elected to an office and has nothing to do with what they didn't do in the past or what they did do in the past.
Right.
Let's focus on what's going on right now.
Right.
And I think as long as we keep that, as long as we, the community that's around Tracy Gordon and Rochelle Bilal, and others in our community, as long as we keep that first and foremost in what we're doing as our own agenda and what we're trying to accomplish for ourselves and our community, I think that we can stave them off. We can put them off.
Well,
I mean, you need
help.
some.
We can help.
We can help. I mean, you need some press, yes, but you don't need bad press. And if we're going to have bad press, then we don't need press.
I keep promising myself that I'm going to look this up and research it. I read maybe over a year ago that there was a young woman who had been in journalism in New York City. I think she lives in Brooklyn. And she took it upon herself because she says that the stories that are written by African Americans are always negative, or they slip in the negative connotations in it.
Every time.
So she would take articles, and then she would rewrite the premise of the story, taking out all of the innuendos and all of the racial biasness, and then rewrite the same article, and then she would blow it up and put it on the side of the building side by side. This is what they said, and this is what the article should say by journalistic standards.
Oh, that
Right.
would be great.
I loved it.
That would be great.
I loved
Well,
it.
you said the key word, Joanne. You said racial bias, and most journalists that you see today have a bias.
Yes, they do.
And that bias creeps in, and whether they're aware of it or not, it creeps into the story where it has no place. And so they need to do some self-policing
I think so.
to ensure that there's no bias. Like, is this a fair, equitable article on this person or not?
I would think the media would have some sort of organization or committee within their group that thinks about ethics and thinks about how they write these stories.
They're supposed
Somebody
to.
should
The
be
editor.
that's right.
The editor.
They're supposed to be reviewing these stories and making sure that they're not taken out of context.
Well, they're appealing to it's a message that they're appealing to that says that they write because they sensationalize blackness. That's why we fear young black boys, because we only get
Absolutely.
the
Yes.
bad stories, the
That's right.
negatives.
Yes.
Right.
And they message with respect to blacks in leadership that they're not capable, and
They're incompetent.
They're incompetent. They're not capable, and they reinforce it with blowing up the bad stories. They don't
Right.
make them that
And-
they're equal.
And they're doing it as if they're perfect, and they don't have things in their lives that are not perfect.
Well, generally they don't care, because if you, again, we've said this, if you're not in the room, then you're on the menu.
Right.
And so when you have to ask yourself, what does the editorial board of the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News actually look like? Who's on it of color?
Right.
Of course.
And we've raised this before. And how many people of color are actually writing these stories?
Right.
And then the other thing is, that's why there's so many competing interests now, because of the change in the way the newsrooms are, that people are getting their information from a variety of different places.
Absolutely.
So you would believe in a changing America that you would want to have a newsroom that looked like America, so that you
Exactly.
can bring different perspectives to the table.
And especially since people of color buy newspapers just like white people buy newspapers. And so why is it that they always have to sensationalize the black people and not consider the fact that everybody has what you call them in their background, have issues in their background?
Of course. Well, because that's not their agenda.
No.
The agenda, first of all, the agenda is coupled with an unconscious racial bias against black people.
But I'm not so sure it's unconscious. I don't know why you think it's unconscious.
Well, because if you ask them, that appeared to be a racist comment in your article. They'll
Right.
say, "I am not racist. That is not who I am. I would never do that." They don't even recognize within themselves the bias
Well,
that
I
they
think-
write with.
I think that's just a few of them that don't recognize it. I think the majority
Well,
of
it's
them
inherent.
recognize it.
If
it's inherent.
if you confront them,
Yeah.
then they will deny.
Well,
deny.
that's different. They deny it, but that doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing.
And that's true.
Right.
That's true, because it's so blatant. How
Yeah.
can you not
How could you not
understand
know it?
and know, especially the impact of what you write?
Exactly.
The impact on our community, it's always negative.
Negative.
So children grow up in our community with
Right.
a negative self-image of themselves, their community, their
That's right.
brothers, their fathers, their mothers. Everything messaging into young black children is negative
And that's why
about
so
their
many of them,
families
that's
and
why
community.
so many of them have no hope. They have no hope. They go out here, and we were going to talk about gun violence and things of that sort. They sensationalize gun violence, and they put in the paper who killed who and what have you, but because that's negative. And so here, the black kids or black youth see that all the time, so they at least think they get the names in the paper.
That's right.
Or if it's a mental issue, and I think it was Ernest that said he thinks sometimes it's a mental issue.
Well, it is. Well, we
Well,
don't.
definitely.
We're not at the state and federal level. Mostly at the federal level, we're not putting enough money
That's right.
into the behavioral health.
Oh, that's exactly.
That's
And
right.
those dollars are scarce. And then we know that we've been on this mic for several months saying that it is not adequately resourced at the level. We keep getting big organizations gobbling up this money
Absolutely.
and not giving culturally competent services, not
That's
going to
right.
the people who are on the ground who better know how to handle the problem.
And so they're not doing a good job, but they continue to get the referrals and the bulk of the referrals, and they're not doing a good job
and
because
the
they
money.
don't know how.
Let's just call all of this like it is. In every business, there's a business to be, profit is to be made.
Right.
Nonprofits are big, and we got a lot of poverty pimps in the nonprofit
That's right.
business, and where they're in it for the business of itself, and not in the business. And we've made this argument again, and I'll make it over and over again. You know, over the course of the last 20 years, there have been several $1 billion that have been invested. But if you look into these communities, they look the same. So
They look
we're
the same.
because we are both we are fostering and giving dollars that outflow from the community. So if you don't hire people who look like the people who are in the community,
That's right.
if you don't headquarter your organizations within the community, and if
Right.
you don't use that as a basis to have an economic spinoff that changes what happens, because we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
At the same
Right.
time.
And those dollars can be better repurposed into the communities and supporting and bolstering the black communities. And it's an outflow, not an inflow.
That's right.
And that outflow of all of that money spent is essentially, my words have always been that the people who are the receivers of the service, they're the commodity that's being traded.
That's right.
And unless and until we really deal with this, that because we don't have to have a whole bunch of new dollars.
Right.
We need an allocation
That's right.
of the existing dollars.
A reallocation.
That's
A
right.
reallocation.
Of the existing dollars, so that we can get some real things done.
And to the groups in the community who understand
The community.
the community.
Yes, the
That's-
culturally
that is
competent
Exactly.
services.
It's a that's right.
Yes, because some director or
Right.
vice president making decisions in Center City has no idea
Of what-
what's going on
in the
at
community.
18th and Cumberland.
That's exactly
They have
right.
no idea.
They can't even relate to it.
They can't relate to it. They
Not
have
at all.
no idea how to
Absolutely not.
serve that community.
Right. I agree.
So we're going to return and talk a little bit more about it. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source, Black Women's Leadership, and we will be right back.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. EcoWord. Wednesdays on Reality Check with Charles Ellison.
4 p.m. till 7 p.m.
Right here on WURD Radio.
and WURDradio.com.
Drexel University's continuing professional education supports WURD and Black Music Month. Learn more about creating your personal career development path at drexel.edu/goodwin/CPE.
WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM. WURD.
Bachelor Brothers Funeral Services, proudly serving families in 3 locations: Trenton, New Jersey, Broad Street in North Philly, and Garrett Road near West Philly. A tradition of excellence, a promise of care. BachelorBrothers.com or call Bachelor Brothers at 610-713-5560.
WURD family, mark your calendars and join me, Brother Shamari, for Friday, June 28th for the WURD Wellness and Food Festival, taking place at Fresh Grocer Monument Road. That's 4160 Monument Road. While you're there, start or renew your 4WURD membership on site and get your exclusive membership swag bag, including your very own WURD baseball cap. I definitely want one of those, right in your very own hands. Don't wait until the festival. You can do that now. Start or renew your 4WURD membership at any time between now now and June 28th to take advantage of our $75 early bird special. Join the Forward movement today so you can protect and preserve independent black media and get your health on. We'll see you on June 28th.
Join Word Radio Friday, June 28th for the annual Word Wellness and Food Festival at the Fresh Grocer of Monument Road. And take advantage of our special early bird membership drive. Start or renew your Forward membership between now and June 28th, and you'll get a discounted rate of just $75. Join the Forward movement today so you can protect and preserve independent black media. Call 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com. We'll see you on June 28th.
You're listening to The Source
On Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
We're back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership, Joanne Bell, Emma Chappelle, and Rita Hill.
She's here.
She's here.
I am. I'm
And she
here.
came with the snacks. So we, you know, she's
So
the
we're
snack.
glad.
She's the snack lady.
I
She
am.
come, I got some chips. I said, well, you know, we'd be crunching in the. It's right, trying to talk and smacking her lips.
I got to try to keep us upbeat.
Yeah.
Because it's a long time.
Yeah, 3 hours.
And we get hungry.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry today.
But
I didn't
and
bring
thirsty.
good snacks.
I was good. I ate my oatmeal today.
Oh, you were good.
Yeah.
You were good.
But oatmeal doesn't hold me too long.
I just had water. That's
Okay.
it.
Coffee for me.
Coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, oatmeal, I get hungry in about an hour, so that's why I took your pretzels.
Okay.
So
Well, I bought 'em for you.
when we went to the commercial, we were talking about behavioral health, and Emma, you wanted to make the connection to violence.
Yes,
and-
absolutely. I think that when we talk about this gun violence, and we talked about just last Father's Day, how there were, what was it now, something like 19 people.
19
There were
shootings.
19 shootings in the city, leaving 5 dead and 28 wounded. And the reason why 28 were wounded because one of the groups was a graduation, and they shot a lot of people at the same time. But I wanted to say that when we look deeply into what is going on in the violence and the guns and these young people killing each other, we really do need to look at the fact of at behavioral health or mental issues that are part of this problem. And I think all too often people just put it on the side and think that these are just murders because people enjoy murdering. I know Ross called them, he said punks are armed with no fear of consequences. Now, if you don't have any fear of consequences, clearly something is wrong. And nobody looks at the fact that it could be a sickness. It could be a mental issue in their lives. They're going through so much trauma. A lot of people have no food. They have no hope. And these young people, this is their way of just saying, what the hell? What am I dealing with all this stuff for?
It's generational poverty.
That's
And
right.
they're angry.
And they're angry
They're
about it.
angry.
And they're just shooting up everything because they can. They have the guns. Somehow they get the guns. And they're shooting up people. And I think we need to look at, as you said, Joanne, generational poverty and how that impacts people mentally. the trauma in our community is sometimes unbearable.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you sit back and wonder yourself, we live fairly decent lives, but think about the people who don't live decent lives.
Right.
I used to run this organization called Operation Bush for years, and people would come in, and some of the things they tell me, where they had nowhere to live that night, they were living in their cars, they had no food, they had nobody who would listen to them and help them. I mean, all kinds of issues that happen in our community because of poverty.
Yes, and
Okay?
we've talked
And
about
so we've
this
talked about that. So
for months.
Here you have these organizations that get all this money, as you call them, poverty pimps. They get all this money, and they're supposed to be helping us and controlling us, and they've made a business out of it and making big bucks. And our community still looks the same. Our people are still suffering. Our children have no hope. Many of our children have no hope, even though I know most parents love their kids, contrary to
That's
what
right.
people think. They think
Rich or poor.
rich or poor, our people love our kids. And so what happens is, because they have no hope and it starts affecting them mentally, then we don't look at that as an issue. And it's also a physical health issues oftentimes.
Absolutely.
So it affects your body, it affects your mind. And I think that we need to do more to find out what's going on in the area of behavioral health. Where is the money going, and why isn't it going to organizations for people who look like us? Why don't some of these organizations get enough funding so that they can take care of our people?
It's a question that we're going to ask each council person to weigh in on.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That I know that when Councilwoman Marion Tasco was in office, it was something that she took that she really went after that, about fair allocations and helping minority groups get their fair share. In more recent years, Councilwoman Parker has addressed it, and Councilman Derek Green has addressed it, and we want everyone to weigh in on it, because it's real important about how people get a fair allocation. Some organizations are 10 times the size of others.
Right.
And we have had one of our shows we did early on. We had a group of people representing the culturally competent organizations in here, and to talk about how difficult it is for them to get the allocations in their programs through. And we need to really dig down in that.
Absolutely,
We really
we do.
do.
Because we've acknowledged that there is the trauma of living in poverty.
Absolutely.
And so if that's never addressed, then children, young people, adults, and
Right.
the elderly who live in that poverty,
That's right.
they're carrying around trauma that's never been diagnosed. It's never been treated.
Exactly.
There's no one
To talk to.
no one to talk to, no one to address their needs, and
Well,
the
I
cycle
should say
just
nobody who
goes
understands them.
They're-
People who understand them.
So you got to understand it, and that's
right.
where the culturally
That's right.
competent part comes in. You got to
Right.
understand it. It has to come from a cultural perspective of
That's right.
understanding
That's
things.
right.
And that's how you get the treatment. We have to have more emphasis
Exactly.
on that if we really truly want to address it.
Yes, because so there's all this money for opioid treatment,
Yes.
for the opioid epidemic,
Yes.
and what's going on with that?
But even in that case, our people didn't get the money.
No, not our
Not our
community.
no.
Our community
Or
didn't
what
get it
hap-
when it was when there was a crack
At least
epidemic.
not our organizations that are
They didn't
helping
address
people.
it. They addressed it as a criminal issue rather
And
than
then
a health issue.
Rather than a
Mental health.
Rather than a mental health issue. And so now the reverse is happening. They're treating it like it's a mental health issue because there are white people who are suffering from this opioid epidemic.
Right.
But just like they put that amount of money into the treating the opioid epidemic,
Right.
the impact of it, what goes into someone becoming an addict, they need to do the same thing for the trauma that comes from living in poverty, because it's real.
And the impact.
It's a real thing that affects our community.
That's right.
And because Philadelphia has such a high poverty rate, there is going to be gun violence, there's going to be crime, there's going to be drugs, there's
right.
going to be trauma that needs to be treated, and to just ignore it and look away.
Yes.
Our elected officials,
They need to step up.
they need to step up, and they should be ashamed of themselves for turning away.
That's right. We have
So
to help
we're-
these people, but
we're-
we understand our community. I think that's the difference. Our people who run these, I mean, you have to give them credit. The people who run, people of color who run these behavioral health organizations really should be given credit, because
That's right.
they hear all kinds of situations and they're trying to help their community. But the best part is they understand our people, because many of them may have been through similar.
Well, it's in their
circumstances.
families.
It's in
you
their
know?
families.
But,
That's
you
right.
know, it's in the families. Let's go to line one. What's that?
Greetings, ladies. How are you today?
Good.
morning.
Good morning to you.
Great. So I did send an email to you ladies, and I did get a response back. So I'm just waiting to find out the date when we meet, because, what we're talking about is not something that just happened today or yesterday or last month. We've been dealing with this thing with the disparity with blacks
Yes.
ever since we've been here.
Right.
And black people really have to begin to understand this is about power.
Yes.
This is about people who have power and who want to stay in power and don't want you to have anything.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that
You
one.
know? And one of the things that black people have to do, and I just have to be very frank, we need to understand, like we're too submissive, and we wait for other people to do for us.
Yes.
And we have to be aggressive, and we have to start fighting. We have to start demanding, and when we don't get what we need, we know we're supposed to get.
Yes.
We need to begin to apply pressure to make sure that we get it, because that's the only way that we're going to get it.
And that's why we're here. That's why we're here every Wednesday, because we
That's
intend
right.
to do just that.
I want to address something that you said regarding what's happening in our communities and why our children, or why we see what's happening in our communities. I think the behavior health is one. There are a lot of factors that we can't overlook. But I think one of the things that we also have to understand, to a large extent, we've really failed our communities because we haven't provided the infrastructure needed to make our children and our young adults feel comfortable about where they're at. And so oftentimes we're not really leaving anything for them. And so a lot of times everybody wants hours.
Yes.
And I don't advocate, obviously, none of this of violence, but I'm going to be honest. Sometimes these young adults with this gun violence and things, I think a lot of them are evoking. I mean, what does it mean to be a man, or how can I say that I'm a man? So if I don't have a job, or if I feel hopeless or whatever, then oftentimes my bravado may come through brandishing a gun or shooting somebody, and I'm not thinking about the consequences, but for that very moment, I feel like a man.
And you feel strong and powerful, right?
Right. One example I want to give real quick, and then I'll end. And I need to give a clear example of why we're not doing what we need to make our children and our community feel proud of us. Look at the deplorable conditions of our schools.
Yes.
I mean, the schools in this city are deplorable, and you have all of these white individuals that work in the school and administrators, but guess what? None of their children attend these schools.
Right.
But yet, these schools have been like this for decades, and we have yet to stand up and fight and demand that the conditions change. You got schools that, during the wintertime didn't have any heat. You got children in the classroom wearing coats. How can our children respect us when we're not willing to stand up for them and fight for something as basic as a decent education and decent schools to be able to attend to?
Well, Watson, you have no argument from us. That was part of our scorecard. That was one of the things that we scored council on that they are allowing this kind of situation to happen. They keep bringing new superintendents to town, and they're going to do such great things, and our kids are still suffering and in deplorable in deplorable buildings, and not getting the quality education they should get.
Sometimes it's more of an effort to divvy up the spoils as it results to the school district and the people who have a supplier relationship who want to keep status quo going.
Right.
It's all of our problems, and I don't think that all of us do enough collectively
either.
to even support some of the groups that are out there trying to do this heavy lifting. In fact, what we have to have is a plan that takes all of this into account.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, and so we didn't hear anybody's plan.
I know, we keep asking for where's the plan?
Right, where's the plan? It's like a reactionary plan, like just do what they can do at the time rather than plan.
You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to Word, Black Women's Leadership, and we'll be right back.
We see you and we want to help. Don't give up hope. West Health System is here to support you in your recovery. Our innovative Passages program will help walk your teen out of their addiction and into a brighter future. For more information, call 215-456-2626 and visit our website at www.drwes.org. West Health System, providing hope in our communities.
Support independent Black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
This Black Music Month vignette is brought to you by PA Lottery.
Born Patricia Louise Holt Edwards, Patti LaBelle was lead singer of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, who later became LaBelle. In 1966, the group released their first album titled Somewhere Over the Rainbow. In 1974, they broke into the mainstream with disco classic Lady Marmalade. Patti LaBelle started her solo career in 1977 with her self-titled album, which featured ballad You Are My Friend. She received her first Grammy nomination with The Best Is Yet to Come, a 1983 collaboration with Philly native Grover Washington Jr. That same year, she released her first #1 hit, If Only You Knew. In 1984, LaBelle released pop hits, New Attitude and Stir It Up. A beloved and revered artist and member of the Grammy Hall of Fame and Songwriters Hall of Fame, Patti LaBelle continues to entertain and inspire.
This Black Music Month vignette was brought to you by the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older residents in your county. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly.
Word TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at Forward. Word TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source
On Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
We're back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership. And we are talking about trauma in the African American community. And we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear from you both on Facebook. We're streaming live, and we'd like to hear from you by phone. We think this is a serious subject. We have to get our arms around it. Senator Williams has asked the governor to declare a state of emergency. We have to do something about this, and we can't sit silent about it.
No.
Really can't.
No.
And before we go back to the lines, because we certainly want to pick up Leon on line 2, we want to just get the letter that Senator Williams sent to the governor.
You got it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Dear Governor Wolf, after yet another several days filled with record homicides in Philadelphia, as an elected official, I am embarrassed by our lack of action. As a husband, father, and neighbor, I am frustrated, scared, and angry. This level of loss of life should be met with the same dignity and urgency with which we address any other mass shooting in America. Yesterday, my community was rocked by a senseless act of gun violence during a Father's Day and graduation picnic at Finnegan Playground, a public park in my district, resulting in 6 victims and 1 death. All of those shot in this incident were under 25 years old. This was just one of 19 shootings in the city over the weekend that left 5 dead and 28 wounded. While the event made national news, the lack of shock and public outcry by public officials was stunning. As we enter the summer months, there's a fair expectation that the rate of homicide in Philadelphia will continue to rise. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and children are afraid to simply walk through their neighborhood in peace, as they see no plan to change the current circumstances or provide relief. I think we're well past the point when those of us who are elected to lead and are always reacting, we must restore some level of public confidence by addressing this epidemic proactively. I know you not only to be an exceptional leader, but a person concerned about humanity. So my ask of you and the demand of those who we represent are a few immediate steps. We in elected office should acknowledge that this level of human loss is not acceptable. We should declare some form of state of emergency, crisis immediately. I would hope that despite the pressures to pass a timely budget, that I, along with other interested and responsible parties, be convened immediately to begin a coordinated and compassionate response to this crisis. Several issues can and should be addressed. Increase temporary law enforcement presence in affected communities while removing the elements of law enforcement known to have intolerant views. To abate some level of violence and reduce the high level of anxiety in these neighborhoods. Collaboration and coordination on grant approvals for community anti-violence programs at both the local and state levels. Redirecting funding currently given to larger institutions to study violence to create a fully funded crisis intervention akin to that of the 1970s, along with other proven data-driven models. I believe your leadership is essential in this deeply sickening set of circumstances. Our collective appearance of limited actions comes across as a deafening silence to communities that have already been marginalized. Thank you for your concern and attention. Sincerely, Anthony H. Williams, State Senator, 8th District.
Well, I could not have thought and dreamed to say it better. You know, the value of black life is what we have to see, that every elected official values life, values black life.
That's right.
And again, we started this program by talking about too much money goes to large institutions that want to study us.
That's right.
And the money
and get money
for that, and so that the outflow goes out and it doesn't come back into the communities. And I personally have talked about this for over 10 years. I'm just one little voice in the wilderness, but I'm going to keep at it until it bugs you too. We're going to go to line 2, Leon.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Leon.
All right. I really didn't hear much in the letter as to how the problem can be solved. You know, I know money can go a long way to put into effect the appropriate solution, but money can't bring about the solution. I would think that if elected officials are real leaders, they should come up with a solution, or they should allow the community, because there's some people in the community that do have solutions. I think money should be discussed after we decide the solution, because that's necessary to put the solution in effect. But this notion that somehow a bunch of money is going to solve the violence problem in our community, I don't agree to that. I also would like to say, we were talking about solutions for the school problem. The solution I have been talking about for years is an elected school board. It may not make the schools better, but it certainly would put the power in the hands of parents and voters, like every other school district in Pennsylvania. So my question would be, why aren't our elected officials talking about that solution?
Well, Leon, I have a couple of questions for you. For someone who's been an advocate for schools for a very long period of time. So let me talk about what, if any, background do you have in behavioral health?
I have a master's degree in educational science. My master's degree in educational psychology, I should say, which includes group dynamics, studying groups. Of course, I have a bachelor's degree of psychology and education as my majors. And I have been in the community.
Well, I was sort of not looking for the educational background, but more of the issue about whether or not you may feel that what is lacking in a lot of ways in violence is trauma, and that continued trauma has to be treated. And the way that you treat it is through an allocation of dollars for professional people who understand what you're going through. And so when you... Well, we can respect
that. We have spent a lot of money with professional people, especially in the school district, and we haven't seen any results.
So I'm not speaking about the school district right now. I am speaking about families who reside within the city of Philadelphia who have absolutely various different levels of trauma in the family, and it could be numerous dynamics, which up to and including rape, incest, physical violence, all of the other stuff in the household that traumatizes a family when money is not there. There's a whole level of things, and there has to be a place where people can go to get treated. See, I believe in modern medicine. And I believe in trained people who understand what this trauma is about and how you get help to those people. And that's the argument. I'm not arguing the school district part of it. I'm arguing the behavioral health side of it and how you get help to families.
Okay. Let's argue that then. That show me how giving money to professional people have ever changed any violence problem in our community.
So I would turn that around, that it's not about giving money to professional people. It is about, I would hope, let me give this analogy, and it may not be a great one, but if you're ill, you don't go to a witch doctor. you go to the nearest hospital or doctor to get treatment and diagnosis, and you don't question whether or not whatever it is, if they tell you that you have and that diagnostic testing tells you that you have, that you want treatment. Well, the issue of behavioral health is treating the trauma, the emotional traumas that people have. It's an exacting science, just like the medical science. And so, let me finish, and I'll let you finish. So therefore, what we're saying is that we have a traumatized community over a period of time, and I know that you're a learned man, so you know it's an outflow from slavery and Jim Crow and all of the ways that black people had to exist and live in the United States. And so at the end of the day, we are traumatized. Our communities are traumatized, and they need help. And what we're suggesting is that there is an existing budget to provide mental health. And even in these gun shootings all around the country, the first thing that they will say is that, we have a lot of walking wounded people who are sick, and they need help. And what we're saying is that the same thing applies to the violence that we see on our street. I want you to hold, Leon. We got to go to commercial, and we're going to come back to you. You're listening to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source, and we'll be right back.
Get your money straight.
Get my money right.
With Solomon Jones and Akbar Hassan.
Fridays on Wake Up with Word.
7 a.m. till 10 a.m. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
Hear that? That's the sweet sound of Minute Maid slushies at McDonald's, turning up your summer. Every sip, slurp, and brought to you by 3 refreshingly chill flavors like Blue Raspberry, Fruit Punch, and New Sweet Peach. Only at McDonald's and only for summer. At participating McDonald's for a limited time. Minute Maid is a trademark of the Coca-Cola Company.
AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Commercial painting. Hi, my name is Umar the Painter. With 17 years of experience painting and exterminating in the tri-state area, anything that you need for your home improvement, I can make sure it happens at any price and any budget. If you're looking for someone that's reliable, that pays close attention to detail, and is affordable, AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Bug extermination, AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Youth education, AffordablePhillyPainters.com. Come on, say it.
You'd think that making $1 billion profit would be enough, but 3 big out-of-state nuclear corporations want even more. They're demanding a handout and $500 million every year, paid for by hardworking Pennsylvanians like you. They call it fair compensation, but it's really just another corporate cash grab. You shouldn't pay more for your electricity to pad the profits of nuclear executives and shareholders. Text bailout to 52886 to tell legislators no nuke bailout. Paid for by Citizens Against Nuclear Bailouts.
2019 is the year to go solar in Philadelphia. Do you want to take control of your electric bill? Go solar today. The Philadelphia Energy Authority just reopened Solarize Philly, a citywide program to help all Philadelphians go solar at home. Any homeowner or business owner in Philadelphia can sign up today for a free assessment of your home. Go to solarizephilly.org or call 215-686-4483. This is your last chance to cut the cost of solar by 30%. The federal solar tax credit starts stepping down after this year. The Solarize Philly Group buying program drives down the cost even further for anyone who signs a solar contract through the program by October 31st. The technology is here, and Solarize Philly is making it easy and affordable. By going solar through this program, you are also supporting solar job training for high school students, all while saving money on your monthly electric bill. Go to solarizephilly.org or call 215-686-4483 to get started. Call 215-686-4483 for more details. Again, that's 215-686-4483.
Now, with more clarity, this is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Streaming live at wordradio.com.
Kayla in the groove.
It's Mama's birthday.
It is. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
What's your mother's birthday?
Just say Mother West, Miss Kayla's mom. That's her name.
Mother West.
Mother West.
Mother West. Happy birthday! Now we would sing a little tune for you, but I know I don't sing. And nobody would want to hear that screeching.
She would not appreciate it.
She would not appreciate it. You're listening.
But happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Mom West. That's right.
You're listening to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source, Black Women's Leadership. Joanne Bell, Emma Chappelle, and Rita Hill. And before we go back to the phone with Leon and then take the rest of the calls, wanted to address that Raphael. This is one of the few times that I do agree with you.
That's right.
And
it was very good.
It's very well said.
Very well said.
He says, it isn't about giving out money to professional people, Mr. Williams. It's about building organizations and networks for vulnerable people. Mm-hmm. That is where the black community leadership is criticized. They can't build organizations that work independent. They always need white people to help them. I couldn't say it better. I think we have the talent in our community to do so. But beyond that, it's our own cultural experience.
That's right.
And I know I'm no different in my family because we all got families that suffer, and every ill that's in most of these families is in all of our families, and we have to come together and figure out how we're going to help so-and-so, or how we're going to, address this issue, that issue. We have it in our families, so we have a sensitivity to what's happening.
That's right.
And so the best way to address it is to get people who are trained professionals within that, and also coupled with people who have had the experience in order to do it. And so that's what I'm saying, and I'm going to go back to Leon, and then we're going to move very quickly. Leon?
Yeah, I don't trust professionals, and I've been around long enough to know that we have a bunch of hustlers in our community looking for money, and always come up with some kind of program that they say will give us relief. Now, you can't compare medicine with psychology. There's apples and oranges. Medicine has been around for thousands of years. Psychology, one of the newest science. And I'll just give you an example of what I consider a solution to violence in our community. It happened during the Million Man March, and I was there in Washington. We had over 1 million black men, not one fight. Why wasn't that? I mean, why don't we look at some of the solutions that work in Washington and try to use it in our community, rather than come up with all these elaborate plans where the governor is going to give so-called professionals millions of dollars. That's all right.
Thank you, Leon, for your call. Line 1, Maurice.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Kelly Day. My wife had been sick for months, but when she opened up the show with that music, she actually got out of bed.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Boney James with Grazing in the Grass.
Yeah.
Now she's downstairs, but she ain't done in a while. Breakfast.
Oh, that's great.
I want to give kudos. But listen, the gentleman in front of me hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, I'm trying to tell you, money is not going to solve the problem. I worked 16 years up at Graveford as a guard, and I never got a scratch because I was from the neighborhood, and I knew how to talk to those guys.
Right.
And if that money actually went to the black professionals in our neighborhood, where black people actually touch to help other black people, then we could say, we can do things. But usually goes to a white lady that lives in Payola.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what we just said.
That's right.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, I thought you said you were agreeing with Leon.
I thought you said you were agreeing with Leon.
I am agreeing with him because that money that Mr. Williams asked for or is trying to get doesn't solve the problem, because that white lady from Payola will come in and tell them how black people how they should act, then go back and live in Payola.
But he didn't say
that's not what he said.
Didn't say that's not what the letter says. It's not asking him to give it to the white lady to go back to Payola. He's asking that money be directed to people like ourselves who understand our community and can help our community.
But the thing is, it never does. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, but we can't. Here's the thing. You're either going to have a solution, Maurice, to it, or are we just going to sit around and pontificate about what we can't do, when we can't do it, what they did before, and meanwhile people are out there killing each other. Now we could either be a part of the solution or we're going to be a part of the problem.
That's right.
And if we continue this, hold on, I'm going to let you talk. But here's the thing that aggravates me. I can't stand when I can hear we're so used to knocking each other, knocking every solution. No, that can't be done. I'm against it, you know, and this and that. I don't want to hear that. We've heard too much of that for too long. And that's why we are where we are. Let's be about the solutions. Now, go ahead.
What you were saying is, the thing I was trying to get across to you is that we've done this before and it hasn't worked. That's what I'm trying to say. We done sent the money in and it never reaches us. It always reaches somebody else before. And if it does get to us, we only get a slice of the bread.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we said. We said.
What I'm saying is, you said solutions. I have a solution. And it happened, and history has proven it. If we invest in entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods, the crime will stop because people will have a job, it will have a purpose.
So here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. I don't know if you're listening to something else in the background when you're listening to us, because clearly you're not listening to us. So what I really want you to do now is when you hang up, I want you to really listen to us, okay? Because that is what we've been saying for the 6 months that we have been here on radio, connecting economics with poverty. We have done that. We've talked about it every week.
Every single week.
Thanks for your call.
We talked about building our businesses and building our organizations with people who knew how to lead them,
and why that didn't happen. And what are the reasons why that's not happening? Why our economics can't be built up in a city where we're the majority?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Why isn't that happening?
We're going to go to line 3, Ed.
I appreciate y'all, but what y'all saying is true. But the real thing is the behavior thing. When you have lead paint for years and the city council won't really do anything, and it had this bill up for so long, and they still keep postponing it. That has a very environmental disaster on it. So does H2SO, hydrogen sulfide, and these things, even SO2. Sulfur dioxide. These things impede your growth, and that's a lie. And then you talk about, the drama of family, incest, rape, a lot. And then you got to look at who's bringing all these guns in the neighborhood. That's something that everybody should explore. Why is these guns in? It seems like it's by design. Like since gentrification began, it's a step-up effort to either get rid of a lot of people, put a lot of people in prison. They won't give you jobs. And then, like you said, you got your poverty payments. You get all these, public things where you get free money, but it never goes to the real people.
Exactly.
I agree with everything y'all saying. We got to have solutions.
That's right.
We can't be knocking and saying, oh, this won't work. We tried that before. No, we ain't really tried nothing.
And we talk about hustlers in our community. Well, hustlers in every community. What do you think about it?
Right. We got to know nothing city council.
That's right.
Who sits there every day and pass bills that's detrimental to us. We scream and holler, but it seems like nothing never happened. So
well, I don't know, Ed, that we scream and holler, because I don't see that.
No, what I'm saying is we don't get nothing done. It seems like this city council is immune to everything. I've seen people go down there and really plead for things, and they still vote against it. So I don't know what's going on. It's like it's a design plan not to either address our issues, or they really just don't care. I just don't know what the solution is.
Well, I think that we have to work together to have a solution, but part of it is that we're always so separate. And we can have. We are. We live in a very divided community, and that's part of the problem. We're not collective in our approach. We may have different opinions. Leon has an opinion. You, Ed, have an opinion.
All of us have different
Raphael
opinions.
has an opinion, and we have to come together. And the diversity of opinion is good, but we have to hash it out and get an approach to all of these opinions. and to go forward. It may not just be one solution. We may not have a total prescription from one point of view, but we have to come together. What we have to agree on is that we are in a state of emergency. If we can agree on that, if we can agree that this violence in our streets is totally unacceptable, then we should be able to come together and to do things. Solomon Jones in the morning, he's attempting to do something. He's not standing and sitting by. Whether you agree with his approach or not, he's attempting to do something about it. He's attempting to pull people together. He's talking about it. He's using his mic. He's using his persona to do something about it. We all have to step up. Thank you, Ed.
And that's also what Senator Williams' letter said. Let's convene interested parties, and let's deal with this issue as an emergency, but also with compassion. And so if we convene the leadership and the interested parties around the city, which is elected officials, which are programmatic heads, community organizations, convene interested parties around the city, and let's sit down and let's make a solution.
Right.
But like Joanne said, let's first agree it's a state of emergency.
That's right. And let's have respect for each other's opinions.
That's right.
Because no one opinion could be the right thing. It could be a collaboration of opinions.
A mixture.
That mixture of opinions that we come up with the solution. But the bottom line is we need a solution. It is a problem. It is an emergency.
It's an emergency.
We need a problem. And like, who was it? He said, who's bringing these guns in the community? How do these kids get all these guns?
I know.
It's just like when it's just like when they put the drugs in our community. Now it's guns.
Yeah.
I don't know where they get them. So I just think
I don't know, but it's a conspiracy. Oh, I agree there.
I
It's
do
a
too.
conspiracy
It has to be a
get
conspiracy.
those guns into our community.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to take another call. We're going to go to line 4, Muhammad.
Hey, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So very honored to speak with you all, just to have a moment to exchange productively with the likes and the nature of you outstanding ladies, outstanding women.
Thank you.
You made some very critical points, and I just wanted to touch on it and then offer a proposal, a proposed solution.
Okay.
One, we need more black independent institutions like black media, galvanized and created and supported to be able to bring our special contribution to solving this problem.
Yes.
And we need to get more resources, including money, into the hands of principled, qualified, professional or unprofessional people so that they can work in this area. You made an excellent point when you talked about the fact that these communities, our community, is traumatized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can see it. You can see it.
Yes. Yes. And it's natural. The same kind of trauma is happening in other communities. It may not be showcased. It may not be highlighted or responded to the way that it happens in the black community. I picked up a book a couple of years ago at Hakeem's bookstore because I'm, work in this area of peacemaking and trying to do my part to solve the violence in the city, particularly among black men, since I am a black man. The book was Black on Black Violence by Amos Wilson, who is a professional icon, who is an ancestor now. But his book is Black on Black Violence, the Psychodynamics of Black Self-Annihilation in Service of White Domination. And on page 15 in his introduction, he goes to the crux of the matter about what the essence of black on black violence is. And essentially he says that the violently oppressed react violently, that violence and powerlessness are inextricably linked. People who are powerless need to find a way to lash out and to assert their agency and their frustration at being powerless, and so a lot of times they will react violently. And so if you examine the real critical, the critical part of it, you kind of put the pieces together. So I would encourage people to get that book because it's a great look at the psychological aspects of how people have react violently. My proposal in the area of resources would be, if you notice in the city of Philadelphia, almost every weekend there's some type of race, there's some type of fundraiser for some medical challenge, some cancer, some social ill or some problem, that needs to be researched or that needs resources. We don't really have a regional fundraiser that goes that targets directly fighting the problem of violence, so that we can raise resources, money, on a regional level. A race, a walk, a pilgrimage, a fundraiser, something that, targets this problem of violence in black communities, so that we can get resources into the hands of the people that are qualified and are on the ground making a difference, and a lot of times are doing it out of their own budget or underfunded. So that would be my contribution.
Thank you, Muhammad. That's a
good idea.
Good idea. We have, in the Senator Williams letter, he harkens back to, in the 70s, there was gang violence in the city of Philadelphia. And there were numbers of people who came together with a violence prevention program, crime prevention, number of groups. In fact, I started my career out of undergraduate school, working as an area youth worker for the city of Philadelphia for gang violence. And there were lots of these organizations that actually put people out on the street working with the communities in order to address and identify troubled individuals, troubled families. And these programs were successful because by the time that the 80s came in, at least that aspect of violence and gang warfare had stopped, and of course drugs moved in.
Right.
So, and we do have black professionals that are psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, a whole group of people who have studied this stuff and who are working within several organizations or working in black-run organizations or nonprofits who have dedicated their time and their lives to this. And I believe that they have been marginalized. And they've been marginalized because part of this is also a business. And so when you look at the dollars that have been allocated to address behavioral health, it's lopsided. It's not being held by the people who I think who can deliver culturally competent services to the community. And unless and until we ask each and every elected official that impacts the budget, that impacts the city budget, that we need to have a fairer distribution of these dollars and to cover broadly some of the programs that hire people who are indigenous to the community to actually work in the community to do it, the reallocation of those dollars, and put those programs and people and boots back on the street. There are a lot of people who are working so very, Isaac Samir, he's out there on corners trying to turn drug corners away. He and a group of Muslim men have been doing this in West Philly and closing down corners and doing things. There are people who, if they were adequately resourced,
That's right.
who can go in there and do that. And that's what we're saying. We're not just saying that in order to resolve this program, you got to have a PhD or you got to have, no, that's not. But it's a combination of things.
Exactly.
You need people who can provide therapy. You need people who can have boots on the ground. You need the Bilal Qayyums who's been out there in the West. They need to be adequately resourced.
Exactly.
In order to get into the communities to do that. And that's what we're saying.
And we talked early on about how when we looked at the city budget, the funds, the black businesses could not get any money. They got very few dollars in terms of, and I see the behavior health and others as a business. Because even though they're nonprofit, they have to run an operation, a professional operation. And so what happens is when we looked at the dollar allocation in the mayor's budget, and we talked about this over and over again, there was no money or very little money that went to African American owned businesses.
In the behavioral
health or any field.
That's right.
In any field.
When you're starved out of the process, we've talked about African American businesses are more likely to hire other African Americans.
That's right.
So when you don't give them the contracts, you starve out our communities.
That's right.
They're more likely to invest in the community. They're more likely to write checks to charitable organizations in the community.
Hire from the community.
They will hire from the community. They will keep that whole commerce going. But when you starve them of that, the money is not reinvested back into the community. It's the thing that we've used this mic for over and over again.
Absolutely.
That when you and you have a right because we pay the taxes too.
That's right.
And nothing is said about the assumption that these larger businesses feed off of government. That I don't want to ever hear someone say, well, I don't, this business doesn't make money as a result of government. Because I love what Elizabeth Warren said a number of years ago. If you ride on the roads, if you use all of the resources, government has helped you get there because it's taxpayers' dollars that makes it possible for you to earn and make the money that you've made. And if you underpay your people and they too have to get food stamps and all of the other supplemental things, you are supplementing that business.
Absolutely.
That's what you're doing. We're going to take a break. You're listening to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership, and we'll be right back.
Brothers and sisters! Don't miss The Source. Weekdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Word Radio, WordRadio.com, and the Word Radio app.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word. No, not the station, but the word. J-O-B, that is. And our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious breads in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they're hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days of employment. Call Scott Drummond at 856-754-0360 or visit amorosos.com for details.
Listen live at wordradio.com.
Word Radio and Love Now Media celebrate 11 days of love stories by honoring acts of love that paid it forward. Blue Kind is an artist, entrepreneur, and the owner of Franny Lou's Porch.
When I was pregnant with my first child, it was really hard because my mother is not here. She passed away when I was 14, and my father lives in another country. So, I'm having a baby by myself without my brothers or anybody in Philadelphia, and I just kind of was sitting with that reality of not having that familial support. But when my son was born, a therapist that I was seeing at the time, they suggested that I asked an elder couple to be an adoptive grandparent. And I thought that was really cool and a really innovative idea because I don't have parents around. So this couple came up to my mind like right away when she asked me, and it was one of my good friends at the time, their parents. I asked them if they would be interested in being my son's adoptive grandparents. And so my son is 7, and they show so much love to my son. And then I was pregnant with my daughter, and now they gained another grandchild, and I'm pregnant now. And they're like, we're going to have 3 grandchildren. And that to me is like really beautiful. But they look at me and they're like, we're going to get older. There's going to be a time where these grandchildren are going to help us as well. And now, when they get older, and we'll be there more for them, because what I'm realizing is the children are essential for our elders' health and well-being.
Love Stories, because love fuels the work. Share your love story at wordradio.com or lovenowmedia.com. Love Now, pay it forward.
Word TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at Forward. Word TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source
on Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
My soul's in a state of emergency. Hey, my soul is in a state of emergency. Yes, in a state of emergency. Emergency, emergency, emergency. Everybody is a enemy. Parties in a state of emergency.
State of emergency.
State of emergency.
We're back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership. I'm Joanne Bell, Emma Chappelle, Rita Hill, and we got the Wanda Davis in the studio. We're going to get to her in a few minutes, but we're going to go right to line 2 and Jetty.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jetty. Good morning, our sister.
Everybody.
Good morning.
Good.
Fine. How are you?
One thing about waiting on the line is that you get all the problems solved and everybody feels your thunder.
Right.
So
That's
you don't
true.
really have to do anything. It's summarized.
Oh.
I mean, you are just hitting it on the mark, all of you.
Thank you.
It's a combination.
It is.
We do have to admit more than just that we are in an emergency. We've got to admit that the school district has never had an allocation of enough money to solve any of the problems.
Absolutely not.
Had. Not the educational ones, the academic ones, not the behavioral health ones.
That's
so that's
right.
one
That's
thing.
right.
Nor the physical
So it
building,
is not-
nor the physical buildings either. No
Not,
more.
not even the physical building.
Mm-mm.
So none of that has been done before. So those statements we have to stop putting out there because they're not true.
That's right.
Even the educational forum, which has been watching this all along and which filed all the lawsuits, has stated over and over that this system in Philadelphia has been underfunded forever. Totally underfunded.
Absolutely.
So we have not done it before, and therefore we cannot predict that it's not going to work, even if when it's done right. The other thing
Because
is
nobody
that
knows
money-
that because we haven't had it,
nobody
right?
knows that.
That's right.
We don't have any crystal balls,
Mm-mm.
unfortunately. So we need to get it together. And I think Anthony's letter really said all of this.
Yes.
It really did.
Want to interpret how they want to and put it in various parts. The other thing in terms of the elected school board, which I have disagreed with Leon about over the years, not because I am against an elected school board. It's just that I don't think an elected school board is any more magic than any other kind. And since we now have an appointed school board, we can make it more community-minded and have more community representatives on it. So that can be fixed now.
Right.
We've got it started.
I agree.
All we need to do is add some more people on there. Because if we get it into the whole political arena, we'll never get anybody on there who's going to do what they're supposed to do.
Because elected, it will be the same people coming forward.
That's right.
Yes.
Running citywide, and then you'll have to raise money in order to get on the board, and it will be
same old thing.
It would be just like another city council.
Right. The people who have the know-how don't have time to be raising money to do all of this.
Or the resources.
Doing their job.
That's right.
So that is the way to make that. We can take the board we have now, which has some community members on it, and add more to that, and that will solve that problem. But we've got to make sure we add the right people.
Right.
We need people who have skills in that area, and not just put people on there because they're mad or because they talk louder than anybody else.
Right.
And all of that kind of nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things we can do right now.
Very good.
Agree on the criticalness of this, admit that the funding has never been adequate, and that we need to unify. That's the third thing, and you've already made that point, I think, wonderfully, ladies.
Thank you.
That we need to unify and get all these voices together, and we want voices to be heard.
And come up with solutions.
Some who are heard all the time, and there's some who are out there in the wilderness and never get heard, but that's what WORD is trying to do.
That's right.
That all the voices be heard. But we need to get those people in one room and do like they did during the college boycotts.
Yes.
Keep them in the room until they come to an agreement and a plan.
Lock the door.
Lock the door. and, send some food in every now and then. But keep them in there until they come up with a solution. And then address the problem and address it adequately.
Right.
And then we'll have it. Because people are suffering.
They are.
And it's not.
That's the key.
That's the key. Yeah.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
It's getting
and
worse.
Let me just say, to me, it is getting not just worse, but more frighteningly.
More violent.
It's
just
frightening.
violent.
But it's frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, we've faced situations before with gang violence, with a whole bunch of other stuff. But this is a frightening period.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you get people who don't care about their lives, they don't care about anybody's life.
Anybody's life. It means nothing. And when you can't come out and sit on your step like you in your neighborhood because you're scared to come out and even go to the corner store, this is ridiculous.
Oh, it's even worse than that, Emma. There are people who have been shot who were inside their houses.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's right. Inside the house.
So it's just out of control.
Way past all that.
Yes.
Gentleman who said violence begets violence is so correct.
It is. That was some statement. Yes, it was.
It's going to get worse. So if the governor needs to respond to this is an opportunity for him, and I hope he takes this opportunity and pulls together. We need to start getting our list together of people we recommend to be in on this meeting so that we can help him select who needs to be.
And we're going to, we will be
That's
meeting
right.
with you, Jetty, as Black Women's Leadership to write a letter to the governor supporting this notion on behalf of our group. Our group. Before I let you go, you indicated that there's a meeting tonight?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No, I thought you said that there was a meeting on gentrification.
No.
Okay, got that wrong. That must have been an old text from you.
No, that was an old one.
Okay, that was an old one. All righty. Well, thank you, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Jetty.
All right.
Is it which line? Line 1, Jay Brown.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning? Thank you for this conscientious conversation you have.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
I only have 2 points because you're covering so much. But in these 2 points that I have, there is no cultural group in a capitalistic society that has risen without a financial flow and an economic engine.
Right.
Whenever we say that money is not a solution, we're losing sight that we live in a capitalistic society. Slavery was built around economics. Jim Crow was built around economics. After the Civil Rights Bill was passed, there were advances to cut us off economically. Whenever you hear smaller government, to lower taxes, that's the Southern strategy that the conservative evangelicals have embraced, to keep people oppressed.
Right.
So we have to come up with strategies once we develop a financial flow and economic engine. And all these strategies you're talking about are great when it comes to education, healthcare, mental health. There has to be strategies, but we have to be able to fund it ourselves. In some kind of way, we have to come up with a way to get the right kind of banking system, right kind of lending company into our neighborhoods that take care of our specific needs. We can't lend to ourselves like we lend, like Bank of America and all the rest of them, because what they end up doing is giving us these predatory products that are really designed to make the rich richer.
Absolutely.
And the poor. So we have to have that number one in our mind, that whenever we say that money is not a solution,
I know.
We're just throwing out the fact that we live in a capitalistic society.
Absolutely.
And all of our oppression is built around economics. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is when it comes to this violence, and I don't know if you guys hit on this because I haven't heard you all morning, but I would caution us, many of our professionals who are in law enforcement, I would caution us in trying to blame everything on the district attorney who's trying to bring about some reform to the criminal justice system. As long as the system is working against us and we're getting thrown in jail, 1 out of every 3 black males are being thrown in jail, as long as violence would escalate during the summer before this DA, nobody really had a solution. I thank God for some of the things you guys were talking about, how we had to do it, go into our own communities and try to break up gangs and all that, and all those things are great, and we should continue to do that. But I'm cautioning us not to follow this conversation that we presently have a district attorney who's trying to reform the system. This is not a time to lay all the blame on him for the violence that's happening in Philadelphia today, because this is a repeated thing that happens within all communities. You know, crime rises in all communities at certain times. So we cannot lay all of this at the feet of this DA. We must have criminal justice reform, and we need financial dollars going towards that. So we must have criminal justice reform, and we cannot lay everything at the feet of this DA. And that's all I have to say, because you guys are covering so much. I have some specifics, but I'm not going to get into all that today, but that's what we need, a financial for an economic engine, and we must reform the criminal justice system.
I agree.
Right.
We thank you for the call.
Keep
listening and call us back again.
Yeah, that was great information.
The issue about the DA Krasner, we started earlier in this program when we talked about that. Mm-hmm. One of the things, people want to direct you where they want to direct you against your own best interest.
That's right.
And so, therefore,
time.
it's so easy to lay it at the feet of the DA who's not been in office that long, that couldn't possibly have created, in anything that he has done, the violence that's on the street. Where he is attempting to be fair is not to arrest people that don't deserve to be arrested, and he is putting some justice into the criminal justice system. And we're going to ignore those who would want to who would want to direct their disdain for him because he is holding police officers accountable. He's holding the court system accountable, and he is not contributing to the prison pipeline, and that makes some people angry. And so we hear it.
And that's why he was elected.
That's what we wanted.
That's what we wanted. He's
fairness.
doing what we wanted him to do. He's fair in his decisions.
And we know that we can fight crime and we can do all of those things and be fair at the same time. We can walk and we can chew gum
at the same time.
We're going to go through these calls real quickly. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and take these calls that are on the line, and then we're going to talk to Wanda Davis a little bit, who's sort of coming into this to talk about the judicial system and the appointments that may be being made for judges and why we did not have any black judges who were elected in this last primary. So we'll be right back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source, Black Women's Leadership, and we'll be right back.
Word TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at forward. Word TV. Black Talk Media.
Mosque number 12 presents Should Black People Consider Separation Town Hall Meeting, Friday, June 21st at Triumph Baptist Church, 1648 Hunting Park. Separation, reparations, a panel discussion with Dr. Montero, Attorney Michael Court, and Minister Ava Muhammad, National Spokesperson of the Nation of Islam. The meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. this Friday, June 21st at Triumph Baptist Church located at Germantown and Hunting Park. Don't miss this explosive session on separation. For information, call 215-228-6044.
Walter E. Sabbath Jr. Funeral Service is introducing Cremations Are Us by Sabbath. That's S-A-B-B-A-T-H. Cremations Are Us by Sabbath is the result of their 26 years of experience with individuals and families who choose cremation. Sabbath knows that families who choose cremation have the same needs as those who choose burial. Sabbath's new component, Cremations Are Us by Sabbath, emphasizes the wide selection of services they've always offered. Visit their website, sabbathcare.com, for details or call 215-924-4101.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation?
Follow us on social media
using the hashtag onWURD.
Be heard.
Stay connected to Word Radio.
Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Jamming.
We got good music.
Good music. We are back. You are listening to. You are actually listening to The Source.
And Black Women's Leadership Council.
WRD. You might be thinking that we down at the someplace partying. 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Black Women's Leadership. And we're going to take a few calls very quickly, and then we're going to go to Wanda. So we're going to go to line 3, Michael.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Michael.
And happy Juneteenth Day.
Thank you, thank you.
Amazing show. And I hope whatever solutions are being documented by WURD and are taken, that you ladies are a part of, and I'm not trying to put more on your plate, just a part of implementing something, because you just have so much love and wisdom, and I appreciate you so much. I listen to your show.
Well, thank you for that comment, by the way. Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know. I no longer live in Philadelphia. I've lived for 61 years. I just moved, but it's two-state close. Here's my comment and solution. So, as Senator Wade put down his letter, in the 70s and the end of the gang wars, the mothers were very, very instrumental in really galvanizing their sons and the participants in the gangs, as I was, in encouraging the stop of that particular violence. And I think that it would be important to really revisit that with those mothers of children either participating or unfortunately have transitioned. I think those mothers have a lot of valuable information and insight about the violence that unfortunately that their children or families are participating in. It would be a valuable resource, an opportunity to really kind of reach out to those mothers and invite them in for a solution process would be, for example, at family court. You have a lot of mothers and families that are sitting there for hours waiting just for a trial. That would be an opportunity to really engage those mothers, invite them in, and not just make it a penal trial for their young ones and folks getting ready to go before a judge, but to say, hey, we need you to be a part of this process of maybe some solutions in addition to what's going on here to really help move it forward, not just for your child, but for the community. So again, in summary, the mothers, and whether the children are participating or not participating in those communities, in those zip codes, I think if someone would reach out to them in a very genuine manner, not particularly saying we want to have you be a part of an organization, but just reach out and invite them in and follow up with and sort of having this brain think tank for participation and making those mothers feel valued. And I really think that they could get a lot out of that. So that's my comment. God bless you, ladies.
Thank you.
And I really, really hope that you are instrumental in doing something with my statement and helping us along. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. And what we're going to do is have on, again, revisit it with the culturally competent organizations that have really tried to do some innovating programming like that, and have them revisit it and discuss what they've been trying to do. I think it's really important. We're going to run through these.
And one of those organizations would be the mothers. Was it Mothers Against Gun Violence? Yeah.
I mean, I remember, now this was years and years ago, but I remember Shaka Fatah's mother started House of Umoja.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the instrumental organizations that stopped gang violence in South Philadelphia and West Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia.
Real quickly, we're going to go to
but there are many. There's still many others.
We're going to go to line for Harvey.
Yeah, this is Harvey from the state of Georgia.
Hi, Harvey.
Well, Harvey, you sound like you cooling it in the state of Georgia. It's like, this is Harvey from the state of Georgia. I'm out back with my feet up, listening.
Well, not out back, but sitting here looking out the window and trying to absorb everything you women are saying. And first, let me say kudos to you ladies, whether you succeed or not. what I'm thinking about is where are those brothers? First, I'm a disabled veteran. I fought in Vietnam.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you for your service.
I was a draftee, not a volunteer.
That's all right, but you served nonetheless.
Exactly.
And at a bad time.
Exactly. And what I'm wondering is where a lot of those brothers that serve with me, when we allow this minority group of people to create the havoc that they're creating in our community. Where are they? I know that on Veterans Day, which I don't observe, they come out with their paraphernalia saying that they was in the war. We was in another land fighting for somebody else's rights. But back at home, we tend to, excuse the expression, punk up.
Those are my words exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though. Where are the veterans? That's a very good point.
Hey, we need...
They're experienced. They're experienced in making sure this is right.
Exactly. We know what warfare is about, and we're at war.
Yes.
We are at war. We're getting it from two fronts, from outside and from within.
That's right.
And we got to get on the ball. I say we. There's no collective we because they don't show up. You know, but I've learned how to use my own reform and myself to do the things that I need to do to try to help us along. Maybe if somebody, see me doing some of the things I do, I don't have a platform.
Right.
But when I meet people individually, my conversation is the same.
Mm-hmm.
You cry about we don't have this and we don't have no money and we don't have... Do you know that in this society, in this country, in this capitalist society, they leave money laying in the street, but we won't even bend over to pick it up. We got to get it together, folks. And again, kudos to you ladies.
Thank you. Thank you, Harvey. Enjoy Georgia. Okay, we're going to go to line 2, Charles.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
Good morning.
Good morning, Charles.
It's still morning.
Yeah, it's still morning. We got a few more minutes.
I love it. The men calling in.
Yeah. I just want to thank you, the panel, for the service that you do, that all that you do.
Thank you.
I've called mostly for a comment. I think a lot of the callers touched on a lot of things, but I constantly hear that the phrase that our community, what we need to do for our community. And if you really look at the situation, it's not our community because we don't own it, And that is something right now that is, there's like the elder just said that was on the phone, we're facing a lot of fronts here. And if we were extremely serious about our condition, we will hold our heads in shame. And I don't understand how the elders like yourselves and other folks can observe what is going on and by themselves, not have their heart extremely heavy. And at some point in time, as black people, when are we going to take responsibility versus constantly pointing the finger at everyone else? We understand these things exist, the opposition that's against us, that's there. But what about responsibility for ourselves and pointing the finger at us? Because at some point in time, that the things that, if you go across any city in this country, you see the same exact thing that you would see in your own home city. So when do we sit down and say, this is our fault? How for over 60 years, we are not taking this situation serious. And it's like it's a game, And if you look across the board, there's no other cultures that come to this country that are facing the problems that we have, Right. And I find myself as a 44-year-old man looking at this as a father, looking at this as it's like I'm asking, I don't mean any disrespect to our culture, but it's like sometimes I ask myself, are we that crazy? Are we that insane to see these types of things and welcome? We're always the victim. We welcome everyone into our culture, and I got to turn on the television at night, and I got to see black folks on TV fighting for people from other countries that are trying to come here that don't even care about us, that are more racist than the people that are in this country. And we're in the streets fighting for these people, And it's just how foolish people look at us like we're stupid, and we enjoy it. It's like we enjoy it. We push back against our own prosperity. And so I believe in closing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Charles, before you close, it's part of the conditioning that we have had for years of slavery,
Yes.
Jim Crow, separate but equal,
mass incarceration,
the school to prison pipeline. these are things that we didn't visit upon ourselves. If you read your history well, we've made great strides, and then we have gone 20 steps forward and 50 back. That because there is a force that takes it from us. I read something that I think is instructive. And I think the gentleman is, what's his first name? Allen, who owns he's suing Comcast.
Oh, Byron Allen.
Byron Allen. He's suing Comcast. And he has built a network of cable TV shows, and he sold them to various different outlets, and Comcast will not let him be on their system. And he's been fighting it, and it's going to the Supreme Court. And one of the more prescient statements that was made that he included in his lawsuit was that one Comcast executive was alleged to have said that we're not going to make any more Bob Johnsons. Mm-hmm. So they didn't want him to be successful. So we can have as much of the things that you say that we need to have, but we also have to recognize that there's somebody with a tripwire right there in order to do it. We have to go. I appreciate your call, and we're going to break. So we're going to break.
Vital Signs, Wednesdays on Reality Check with Charles Ellison, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. right here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WordRadio.com.
Turn up summer with McDonald's Minute Maid slushies and their delicious flavors like blue raspberry, sweet peach, and fruit punch. Only at participating McDonald's.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Have you been involved in a car accident, injured on the job, or slip and fall? Call Chiropractor Dynamic, 267-691-5305. Do you suffer from neck or lower back pain, or just want to try something different for your aches and pains? Then call Chiropractor Dynamic, here to help with giving you the right treatment to getting your back into shape. Don't lose time or money for your aches and pains because you didn't know. Call Chiropractor Dynamic now, 267-691-5305.
Join Word Radio Friday, June 28th for the annual Word Wellness and Food Festival at the Fresh Grocer of Monument Road. And take advantage of our special early bird membership drive. Start or renew your 4Word membership between now and June 28th, and you'll get a discounted rate of just $75. Join the 4Word movement today so you can protect and preserve independent Black media. Call 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com. We'll see you on June 28th.
Mosque number 12 presents Should Black People Consider Separation Town Hall Meeting, Friday, June 21st at Triumph Baptist Church, 1648 Hunting Park. Separation, reparations, a panel discussion with Dr. Montero, Attorney Michael Court, and Minister Ava Muhammad, National Spokesperson of the Nation of Islam. The meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. this Friday, June 21st at Triumph Baptist Church located at Germantown and Hunting Park. Don't miss this explosive session on separation. For information, call 215-228-6044.
Drive in with Solomon Jones. Drive home with Charles Ellison. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent Black media. Word TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at 4Word. Word TV. Black Talk Media.
talking about.
That's right.
We're back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership. You're here today with Joanne Bell, Emma Chappelle, Rita Hill, and Wanda Davis. And we're going to go right to Sultan, and then we're going to go to Julian. Line 3.
Well, I'm glad Sultan's calling in. Sultan, how you doing? Sultan?
Yeah, line 3.
Line 3. Hello?
Oh.
Let's go to line
Wait,
4.
4?
Yes. Hello?
Hello?
Julian?
Yes.
Okay.
Julian, how are you?
Hi, how are you
Hi,
today?
good afternoon.
Well, good. First of all, I'm an avid listener to the show. I look forward to it. And I'm at work, so I'm sneaking some time off into the room.
Hurry up.
Okay, we'll talk real quiet.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. Listen, prior to the break, there was a gentleman, you probably replied to what he said, but I was kind of disturbed because...
We were too.
We were too.
We were too.
We were trying to figure it out.
Because you have, I see this kind of ambivalence common among people who can articulate our struggle, people who I admire, but there's this little bit side bit where they kind of go, yeah, but then again, it's our fault.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that we need to get rid of that language when we talk about each other, because I see a lot of people who call up who are so-called advocates who say we are our own worst enemy, and that's not the case.
Exactly.
White supremacy is our own worst enemy, and we need to keep that in mind.
That's
And
right.
I think it's akin to if you're trying to go uphill and people are firing rocks and bullets and stuff down your direction, and
Right.
most of us get hit by the bullets if we don't make it, and a few that make it to the top, and we sit down and go, how come y'all didn't make it? Instead of addressing the fact that they're firing bullets and they make it hard for us to make it. So my issue is, I understand that ultimately we have to help ourselves. We can't depend on anyone else, but that doesn't mean that we can also acknowledge that while we have to help ourselves, it is not our fault. Because as long as we have that narrative, we will keep undercutting ourselves and thinking that we'll keep going against ourselves and thinking there's something wrong with us, besides the oppression and what's going on. And you ladies are doing a good job of highlighting and giving us knowledge to make us understand we're not crazy. We are. Being in America is a crazy thing, but that there's actually people out here undercutting educational-wise, funding-wise, policy-wise, institutional-wise. This is what's expected, and we have to know that so we can overcome it. So I just want to say that one more thing, and I'll let everyone go. I remember in the 50s, or was it the late 40s, when China closed its borders under Mao Zedong and excluded all foreigners because it had to do what it had to do to get right. And like at some point, that we can't quite do that as black people, but we have to, as a community, pull in all the wagons and get serious, and I'm including myself in this, about how we do business among ourselves. We're going to have to close ranks and really get ourselves well enough so we can re-enter as a strong force. Because right now we have too many folks all over the place, and we have to get strict about what we have to do to be able to kind of catch up. So that's it. That's all I want to say. And,
well, we appreciate that call because it's that's what we wanted to say, and you said it very well.
Yes.
Very well.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate your call. And we're going to go quickly to Sultan because we want to get to Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
Sultan, line 1.
Yes, good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Good
afternoon.
Listen, I got about 3 points, and certainly want to suggest that if y'all get a chance to look at that bond that I sent you, which is a community youth revenue generating bond, which is actually written and designed and authored by young people, because the one part of this whole conversation is we haven't put the young people at the table. I mean, we've talked about them, we talked down to them, we talked against them, but we did something for 5 years in a row. We brought the young people to the table, asked them what was the solution.
Yes.
Asked them how we could deal with the problems, and we authored a document that could create a solution that hits from the medical industry to the schools, to the recreational impact, to the entrepreneurship, to the community-based support programming. I mean, it is a full complement that came from young people. Now, the other thing about this violence, we got to know that this is is like apple pie in America. So we ain't the only city suffering. This is all across the country and has begun
across the world where people have lost their human relationship with each other and resolve all contradictions in a short way with weaponries, particularly the gun. So we got to understand that. But we also got to understand that we got to separate some of what we're looking at right now, because some of this is violence among young people, towards young people, and then some of this is adult violence related to whatever those circumstances y'all mentioned earlier. So we gotta make sure we're tracking this thing correctly. I'm prepared to offer our facility for groups who want to come together to talk about this issue. We need to talk about the victims of crime, the people who are victimized and who are hurt and have as a result of a crime, who are disorientated and their lives are shattered. We got to talk about the people who are constantly perpetrating these crimes. So this is a very strong subject, and the one that in '92 when our son was murdered, we started a slogan: "In your silence, we can stop the violence." So we're finally ending our silence now. So now let's coordinate the efforts. Let's collaborate the support units. Let's challenge the government. I like what the senator did, because the elected officials need to be a challenge. The clergy need to be a challenge. The corporate community needs to be challenged. The business community needs to be challenged. The education. I mean, we got to challenge all of these arenas to come to the table with some impact, not just keep talking about the problem, because we know the problem. Come with their resources. Be willing to share them resources. We got a lot of 1,500 community-based organizations who be boots on the ground every day, and most of them is doing it out of their pockets, and I'm one of them. So I know what that means, but we're committed to change. And unless we can pull all these other resources back to the table to be supported and help us collectively, we can solve it. But it starts with the young people. They have to have the major seats at the table in this discussion. We cannot solve this problem without them in the discussion, and then we can quarterback from the sideline and let them run the play.
So Sultan, this is Joanne.
Please read that document, Joanne. Please.
I'm going to read the document, but we want you to come on and let's have this discussion.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Well, we've been talking about having you come on.
We will call you after the show, have a discussion about
and set up the time
and stuff.
This breaks my heart every time I hear of another violence. It's like I'm like a wreck chaser going to the scene of the crime all over. My son was murdered 25 years ago. It is a dilemma, and I'm telling you, victims, survivors of crime are hurting out here.
Absolutely.
I don't hear the mayor saying one daggone
not one thing.
This mayor ain't said nothing.
I know. We know.
He ain't called no mothers. He ain't walked nowhere. He said nothing. The managing director ain't said nothing. They throwing it all on the Ross and leaving it as an isolated situation. But he knows he's supposed to do something about this. All these city departments know they're supposed to do something about this. The war on poverty, they say nothing.
They say nothing.
We got to challenge these, and I'm glad y'all leading this fight, and I'm down with you.
Well, let me tell you something, Sultan. You're right where we are.
Well, that's right.
We feel it.
That's
We've
right.
said it. We've been attacked for saying it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've been accused of not liking the mayor. It's not about the mayor.
It's
It is
not
about the office, not about the man.
It's about
the office. When you fight for yourself, and that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for ourselves and our communities, and we have a right to say the things that we see that are wrong.
Yes, we do.
And yes, we should do something about it. But people want to make it all about personalities. And it's not about personalities. It's about how are we going to survive in the city of Philadelphia. How are our children going to survive in the city of Philadelphia? When we see our babies being shot down, you think that makes us feel good as mothers and
That's
fathers?
right.
Absolutely. And
to
grandmothers.
do that,
That's right.
and the fear that every time our child walks out the door, whether or not he or she is going to come back, you think that makes us feel good?
No,
That
we're
not
upset.
traumatized by it?
We went to the
That's
school
right.
district and asked them to consider peer mediation in every high school, in every middle school. We asked them to consider a format of a program. We got nowhere with it because they could not see the curriculum definition of what they suggest does not impact that. If a child coming there under the fear
It impacts
of being
every day.
killed, how is he going to sit there? 'Cause first, he come there hungry.
expecting to come in with fear.
Absolutely. How's he going to learn? He can't learn. He got and he got to worry about going back home the same way.
They try to get back tread back through the street to get back to the location that they had.
Absolutely.
And the lights aren't on at home, and there's no food in the refrigerator.
No. About this. I'm down with you.
So we're going to get back to you. What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say you are so right. And as a matter of fact, the beginning of June, I took a 3-day peer mediation course to go into the schools and teach the peer mediation, teach them how to mediate their peers. So the Black Women's Health Alliance was the one that actually sponsored it, and about 15 or so of us did take that course. So it's coming, Brother Sultan. This is Sister Wanda Davis.
Okay, thank you for your call, and we'll get back to you. So, Wanda,
yes.
Let's talk a little bit about why we had you sitting here for the last hour.
Okay. So, as a member of Black Women's Leadership Council and a few others, I'm very passionate about our community as well.
Absolutely.
And I've been calling in on all the stations, and I'm here today to talk about this last election of the judges. But ironically enough, and she is either holding on the line or will be calling in. She's holding, so I want to start with we just talked about Black collaboration. Mm-hmm. And on the line holding is Cherie Darden, publisher and new owner of the Scoop USA Media. And I have proud to say that I've joined the Scoop team, and the column is going to be called What's the Scoop? I named it that. And for the introduction, the Scoop, we ended with what we're going to be doing in City Council tomorrow. So it's an effort, and we're going to be taking it to the airways as well. And it's an effort to be able to collaborate with all of us, to get our messages out there, not to leave it on one person, one organization, and one group. And we're going to talk about how this election went. And it wasn't just because I was helping with judges. I've been affected by it long time ago. You all around the table know my story. But first, can we say good morning and hello to Cherie Darden? And
good morning.
Good morning, Cherie.
Good morning, Cherie.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Good morning. Well, good afternoon now, ladies.
Good afternoon. That's right. We're going to talk ourselves right through the morning.
Yeah, it is afternoon.
So I want to thank you all for having me on this afternoon, and also during this same sentence, it's an opportune day to be on. Today is Juneteenth. It is Juneteenth.
It is Juneteenth.
Yeah. It's in the year of the 400-year anniversary of slavery and the induction into us being brought into this United States of America. And also it is Sickle Cell Awareness Day. So these are things that directly impact the African American population. There are things that health-wise, and sickle cell is something that directly hits us. And Juneteenth and slavery, that's why we're having these conversations today. So thank you. And I wanted to mention that before I even start talking, because that kind of is the foundation. That's our foundation. And we have to kind of look at where we came from in order to understand where we are today and how we want to get to where we need to go. You still there?
Yes,
we're here. Listening intently.
How are we listening to you?
I was hoping this was going to be a conversation. I was just thought. Sitting in the car looking at nothing. I want to look kind of crazy.
No. So we're letting Wanda lead this discussion, but we like what you're doing. We like the collaboration. We think that all forms of Black media should come together with a common agenda, so that we can move these questions forward. And this is one of the ways to do it. We need a lot of collaboration. If we're going to get through where we are today, it's going to require all of us.
You are 100% correct. So the reality is this, that there are not many Black media platforms left in the city of Philadelphia. We all know why.
That's right. We do.
We have a platform to communicate effectively, that a lot of the problems that we have would not be there, because we would be able to talk each other through, we'd be able to identify the problems and deal with them. So that's part of the reason why we've been kind of shut down. All of the Black media platforms are very, very limited. And then on top of that, you have the competition and the spatting amongst us, where we really don't want to work together. crazy. I'm the new person at the table, so I can say this. I never understand it when I get to a situation and it's like people say they want to work with you, but their actions say differently. But that's a whole nother topic for another conversation. The reality is that outside of all of that, we have to see the end of the road. Like at the end, if we don't work together, we won't have a successful end.
Right.
So if we don't figure out how to use our platforms, use our strength, because it is strength. We all have strength. You're on the radio having discussions today, and the reality is it's limited, and I hate to say it because it ends up being the same thing with me. We're limited to the people who support us and who listen to us and who talk every day. We have an audience of millions of people who don't listen to the radio, who don't read newspapers, who don't even brought that was never brought into their life. They don't know that we exist. And those are the people who need to listen to our conversation. So what we need to figure out as media is how to move from this form and get into that form and actually have those conversations and have people listen to us. And that's kind of what I've been trying to figure out over at Troop, because it is the oldest African-American free paper in the city of Philadelphia. We have had our triumphs. We have done things to move the black community. But how do I help the millennials, the Generation Xers, the people who are my age who really don't read papers, who read online? And if you're on social media, your social media platform is only as strong as the people who are your friends. So how do we get the message out to the people who actually don't? And that's something that none of us figure out solo. We all need to figure out. We need to brainstorm. We need to come together to a table and do trial and error and figure out what we can do to get to those people.
Particularly in this new era of how people are communicating. You know, we're from the old school, so we're trying to catch up with this technology, but a lot of young people, I found out, and I didn't know this, don't even have televisions in their homes. And because I know that they don't have a landline, and that they can... Oh, excuse me. Kayla got a landline. Okay, you know.
Good for her. She got one little piece of old school in her. She got one landline.
one landline. But they communicate differently.
Yes.
And we have to figure out how we communicate across the generational line. We have to do all of that. Could you please hold? We got to go to a break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source, Black Women's Leadership, and we will be right back.
It's Lights on Chester this Friday, June 21st at the MJ Free Theater in Chester, Pennsylvania. Join the festivities for a free arts and cultural festival celebrating the past, present, and future of Overtown. Be there to watch the entire Illuminate Chester film series and enjoy the complimentary hors d'oeuvres, entertainment, and networking with local business owners. The street celebration begins at 6 p.m. and the film screening begins at 7 p.m. RSVP today at pahumanities.org/lightsonchester.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. What about those graduations? Great occasions, wonderful memories, proud day, graduations for students young and old, proud day for families, smiles. It's graduation day at last. Tears, deep breathing, standing tall. Everyone, thank God it's graduation day. Some folks laughing, some screaming. Honors, summa cum laude, tassels, diplomas, speeches, caps in the air, hands clapping. One more journey, more on the way. Put one foot in front of the other, swagging in. They're taking pictures. It's graduation day, people.
WordRadio.com. The Kimmel Center offers free arts education programs to schools across the region. Teaching artists visit classrooms to educate, engage, and inspire the next generation using creative learning experiences, and schools take trips to the Kimmel Center for live performances. The Kimmel Center is committed to educating Philadelphia's youth by providing access to quality arts. For more information, visit kimmelcenter.org.
You're listening to The Source
on Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
We're back. You're listening to WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. You're listening to The Source, Black women's leadership, and we're going to go right back to Rhonda, who has a guest on the line.
So, and again, and one of the things that Cherie did, and thank you so much, Teresa Brunson, who we're going to mention briefly, is an attorney. And Teresa is going to start giving, writing a column, giving free advice about legal matters and letting people know that she helps in the type of pro bono work that she does for her nonprofit. And Cherie said to me, well, Wanda, listen, why don't you let her do a column every now and then, to talk about that. And this way, this can help our readers and our listeners, because I'm all about the community. And that's the thing that I love about you. You're all about the community and, giving people a platform to do this work, to where it begins to turns out to be a win-win situation. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for all you do with the Scoop. Thank you for having me. And if there's, give us something to wrap up with, and let the listening community know that did you tell them the Scoop was the oldest? Did she tell you?
Yes.
All that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just leave us with some words, and I'll see you shortly. And thank you so much for calling in.
So again, ladies, I want to thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak. And what I want to say is that what I'm trying to do is, I am from the community. I grew up in North Philly, so I am directly impacted by a lot of the things that you all are talking about. Not so much from being a parent or a grandfather, but literally being in the front lines. I actually am a survivor. 2 of my brothers were killed.
Oh, gosh.
And one was an incident where he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. One was a direct hit for him. So I lost 2 brothers, and I had 2 sisters. I have 1 living brother left, and I pray every day for him, because it is what it is. But the reality is that when you're in a position where you are and directly impacted, and you have lived this, just as Mr. Sutan just said, you do look at life completely differently. You do understand the hurt that comes with it, but you also understand the survival. And we also have to figure out how we can get beyond that. Things that have happened, and unfortunately, I was raised in a church-going home, and I was taught that things happen by God's will and His reasons, and one thing should lead to another. It should lead us to a path where we do things together to make this stop. So that is what I'm trying to do at Scoop. I want to bring as many people together. I want to give us a voice in print, as well on media platforms, audio and video, whatever we need to do to try to reach that other group of people. And I hope that you all can be a part of it. I'm all open to collaborating and working together. That's what needs to happen. And if you want to reach us, the easiest way to access Scoop is to look at us on our website, because all of our information is there. So if you just know Scoop USA Media, you can find us easily. And again, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The support, and I hope that we can work together.
We certainly
We
can.
will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Rhonda, I will see you shortly.
Yes, and she's so strong. She just actually, there was a Jananza for one of her most recent team members who worked at the Scoop. So, they always say, God takes one and He replaces another. So I cannot fill anyone else's void, but I'm going to work on filling up some of that space.
Thank you. We're going to go to line 3, Brother X.
You got me?
We got you.
Yes, got you.
Okay, I want to thank you young ladies for taking my call. I know sometimes it must be very difficult for talk show hosts to do that. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Remain the same.
So true.
Malcolm X told Dr. King in the early 1960s, Malcolm X told Dr. King, this is not a civil rights struggle we find ourselves in here. Malcolm X told Dr. King this is a human rights struggle. And that the same thing applies today. Now, those that the Fraternal Order of Terror, they are terrorizing. Fraternal Order of Terror. They are terrorizing us across the country. They are a terrorist organization supported by the United States government and Justice Department. Now, I know a lot of people don't like things I say, but think about it. They are setting us up for slaughter. Before you slaughter a people and exterminate them, you must dehumanize them. How do you dehumanize them? Just by the things they done. Shooting you down on camera, killing your children, brutalizing your women, and show it to you on film. And those images go across the world. And as people see those images of us being killed and brutalized, they have no feelings for us. So when they come to mass murder us, people in the world say, those people deserve it. Don't nobody care about them. They beat a black boy to death not too long ago in China. They beat a black boy to death over in Greece. A black boy was just beat to death not too long ago in Florida because his wife was white. You got a Nazi in the White House. Now, I know people don't like hearing what I'm saying, but we are in a serious, deadly situation. People, if you're able, think about getting out of here, escaping. Sure, white supremacy run the planet in space. But when you escape, you might can go somewhere, live out your life, or your grandchild might have a chance for life. But here, they are showing they are not going to protect us. They are not going to give us human rights. So, hey, what's left? Except escape, if you can. Now, everybody don't have to escape. I know that. And a lot of people won't. But give it some thought, because we have no sanctuary here in the Lion's Den. I mean, you don't have to face that. These are the most powerful people in the world. And then they are the ones doing this to us in the land. How you stop them? What you gonna do? Go to their court? Where you going? Who you gonna call? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
What does Dr. Martin Luther King say? The arc of justice moves
Slowly. Mm-hmm.
I think the first step is to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is to be a student of history. And maybe the third thing is to look at what's actually happening in the U.S. first.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the Obama derangement syndrome, where it was the Obama derangement syndrome, that people thought that the progress was moving much too quickly with a black president, even though things didn't change substantially on the ground for African Americans. But what it showed was that you could put together a coalition of people to elect a person of color.
Right.
And that America was changing. And then there was a lot of commentary about this changing America.
Right.
And that black and brown people were able to vote in a president. And people who were fed a constant diet of privilege felt that their privilege was being challenged. And we like to have that face of the people who we think that felt that they were being challenged was just poor white people. No, I think that it was wider and greater than that, because people enjoyed their privilege. And they didn't want to see themselves as a minority in a country that they felt that was theirs.
That's right.
And so they were tempted and played with and voted for a Donald Trump who represented at least holding back that change. And there are a lot of other things that go with that change. There are a lot of issues before us in suppressing the vote so that we would get into this gerrymandering. And then if the relationships change and that you have more minorities, you become a majority minority country over time, you'd also have an apartheid. Where you're underrepresented in the House and the Senate, just by the mere fact that we have states, as some people say, that have more cows than people, but have 2 senators. So we have that kind of gerrymandering. We also have the electoral college, and all of these things happen so that you diminish the one man, one vote.
That's right.
Then you work on taking away the vote by creating all of these obstacles and barriers to voting. You know, that you have to walk 10 miles to get there, and then you got to go on the other side of the road, and you got to be able to count the jelly beans in the jar, because that's what they used to do. But so there are things to keep you from voting. And then what you want to do is hold down the black, brown, and Asian population. So what you do is that you raise the issues about closing borders. And we don't want people from those S-hole countries coming in.
That's right.
And so the only kind of immigration that we want is white immigration. We don't want black, brown, yellow immigration. And then we want more babies. And so that we can, because we need more
that's
babies.
what's happening now.
And so what happens is that abortion becomes the issue, because we don't want you aborting no babies. We don't want you to abort any white babies.
No white babies.
And then when we get past that, we don't even want you to have birth control, because we want to make sure you have those
more
babies,
babies.
no matter what circumstances you're having them under, rape, whatever.
That's right.
You're going to have the baby.
You have that baby, because it's called population.
That's right.
Getting that
population.
It is because they're doing everything that they can to maintain control of a country that didn't even begin to be yours. And so that's where I think that we're getting all of this white lash across the U.S. And again,
and it comes from the top.
And it comes from, and I think what Brother X was saying, something with respect to it's a worldwide phenomenon, because it's being encouraged. So you have Russia, which is basically a white country,
right?
Who, for the interest of power, exploits the countries for their racial divide. They put that division in there.
Yes.
So they knew they didn't have to attack the U.S. by a bomb. All they had to do was infiltrate it, because they knew America's first sin was race.
Racism.
And if you exploited you would get what you wanted.
That's right.
And they were successful because they knew that they could appeal. They also knew that we had a greedy corporate press. That greedy corporate press was going to put Donald Trump in office. Why? Because they wanted to make money, and he could make them money. Every time they put him up on the screen, we saw him 10 times more than any other candidate.
That's right.
Because they knew he was going to say something outrageous and colorful, and they were going to make money because they would have more eyeballs on it. So, again, if you wanted to attack the U.S., you knew, A, they're greedy, and so the press was going to give them the coverage. B, they're racist. So you knew that was going to happen. And then the other thing you have to do is that what you do is start pitting them against each other. They went up on Facebook and started telling black people, Hillary got horns.
I know. Stuff about Hillary.
Stuff about Hillary. And,
and they're still
the
doing
sexism about not wanting a woman command and everything. It resonated.
She's emotional.
She's emotional. It resonated with a lot of men.
She was sick. Remember, she got a cold.
She was sick, all of that other stuff. All of that worked. It worked. Because we're the kind of country where that stuff can work. And they did it. They started in England with Brexit, creating the racial divide. You don't want them immigrants. The immigrants are a problem.
That's right.
And because they knew that in these countries that were mostly white countries, that they could instill the fear that black and brown people were taking over. And if you just want to create another Second World War, like they did before, or take over the country without ever firing a bullet or shedding blood, you do it that way.
That's right.
That's the way you get it. You get it done. So we got a couple more calls. Let's go to, is it line 2? Line 2, Keith.
Hello.
Hi, Keith.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, Keith.
Okay.
All right. Just I enjoy listening to Word. I listen to it. I make it a part of my schedule every day. So appreciate what you do. Yeah. I like also. I learned a lot too, and listen to some of the calls. I know the Brother X was saying something about we should get out or run far and stuff like that. Away from this,
move away.
Now, some of that stuff that some of the stuff that he's saying, it might sound outlandish, and it is, but there's some truth to some of it. In that, in the past, a lot of exterminations of people began, like you were saying. That has happened in the past. So being aware, we have to be aware of that. things like that have happened in the past. Not saying it's going to happen again, but we have to do something about it in order for it not to happen again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I didn't hear that message in his story. You know, it was as if there's no hope, and and a person who thinks like that kind of thinking is defeated.
Right.
You know, but I think something else that I thought about is that allies, developing allies. I think we as black people, it's so important to get that African connection. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have to develop allies with people. Some of my better friends in life are from Africa, that I've actually met them and befriended them. You understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
Deliberately to find out what's going on in their world. You know what I mean? So I know what's, be more informed. You know what I'm saying? And understand each other. I think we have to do that a lot more, because developing allies, when I think of a war, like if there's ever a war, the way I think, the United States would be in trouble because I'm not fighting for you. I'm going to fight for the other team. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so as far as, these wild, cryptic, forecast of this extermination, America cannot afford a war within. It can't, because the people who are enemies on the outside, that's the perfect time to come destroy this country.
Well, I think,
you know what I'm saying?
I think that they're already doing that.
Absolutely.
I think that we're already. I'm looking at the clock, and we have to get to a couple of other things, so we have to move real quickly. So we're going to have to move on. But we hear your point. Real quickly, line one. Oh, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Get your money straight. Get my money right. With Solomon Jones and Akbar Hassan. Fridays on Wake Up with Word. 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app. Join Word Radio Friday, June 28th for the annual Word Wellness and Food Festival at the Fresh Grocer of Monument Road. And take advantage of our special early bird membership drive. Start or renew your 4Word membership between now and June 28th, and you'll get a discounted rate of just $75. Join the 4Word movement today so you can protect and preserve independent black media. Call 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com. We'll see you on June 28th.
This Black Music Month vignette is brought to you by PA Lottery.
Born Patricia Louise Holt Edwards, Patti LaBelle was lead singer of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, who later became LaBelle. In 1966, the group released their first album titled Somewhere Over the Rainbow. In 1974, they broke into the mainstream with disco classic Lady Marmalade. Patti LaBelle started her solo career in 1977 with her self-titled album, which featured ballad You Are My Friend. She received her first Grammy nomination with The Best Is Yet to Come, a 1983 collaboration with Philly native Grover Washington Jr. That same year, she released her first #1 hit, If Only You Knew. In 1984, LaBelle released pop hits New Attitude and Stir It Up. A beloved and revered artist and member of the Grammy Hall of Fame and Songwriters Hall of Fame, Patti LaBelle continues to entertain and inspire.
This Black Music Month vignette was brought to you by the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older residents in your county. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly.
Support independent black media and join the 4Word movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
It's Lights on Chester this Friday, June 21st at the MJ Free Theater in Chester, Pennsylvania. Join the festivities for a free arts and cultural festival celebrating the past, present, and future of Overtown. Be there to watch the entire Illuminate Chester film series and enjoy the complimentary hors d'oeuvres, entertainment, and networking with local business owners. The street celebration begins at 6 p.m. and the film screening begins at 7 p.m. RSVP today at pahumanities.org/lightsonchester.
Mosque number 12 presents Should Black People Consider Separation Town Hall Meeting, Friday, June 21st at Triumph Baptist Church, 1648 Hunting Park. Separation, reparations, a panel discussion with Dr. Montero, Attorney Michael Court, and Minister Ava Muhammad, National Spokesperson of the Nation of Islam. The meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. this Friday, June 21st at Triumph Baptist Church located at Germantown and Hunting Park. Don't miss this explosive session on separation. For information, call 215-228-6044.
You're listening to The Source on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
We're back. We're going to go directly to Wanda. Wanda has something to share with us.
I do have something to share. The scoop is that there, and I think everybody knows, many of us knows that there are some positions, some judgeship positions that are coming up. 1 or 2 people might be retiring, but there will be about 2 to 3 positions. I want to know who are going to be placed in those positions, because from what we hear, word on the street is that they've already been promised to other attorneys who ran for judge, and neither of them are African American. So that's a discussion that we need to have. It's bad enough you cut the judges. We didn't get any of them elected, and but
more specifically, we didn't get any African American judges elected.
That's right.
And so therefore, we believe that if there are any vacancies, that should be the first consideration.
Absolutely.
In doing that, because for years there have been people who sat in the Democratic Party, such as Carol Campbell, who made sure that there were African American women and men who were selected. And we're sitting in a time where we have this pipeline, this school to prison pipeline, and everything that we've talked about today, and it starts with who we have in the district attorney's office, but it also starts with who we have on the bench. And so therefore, we are, as African American women, we are going to hold Bob Brady's feet to the fire in the Democratic Party to stop the crap. We want African Americans who, if there's some vacancies, we want them to be appointed to. We want to hear it anymore.
We don't want to hear it.
We're not going to be your voters.
That's right.
And then take what you have to say. We're not going to do that anymore.
And for the ward leaders that said they want to do something about it and they're just as upset, here's your time.
That's right. They need
Here's
to
your
step up.
opportunity.
And
Step up.
We're going to call the roll on the ward leaders. We're going to call the roll on the elected officials. We're going to call the roll on all of you.
And on the party chair who's appointing these people.
That's right, who's appointing it. So who's ever in this pipeline, and I know you go run back and tell people, be on there talking about you. Go run back right now. We'll give you a few minutes.
And that's fine.
And
I remember that.
Go tell them that we're back at it again, and that we talking smack about the judges and what we're going to be looking for. So go tell it.
I remember that one of them was Teresa Brunson that got 60-some thousand votes, but she
close
still
to
didn't.
67,000.
Close to 67,000, and she did not get enough.
And she did
so
not
if
win.
anybody deserves an appointment, it's certainly her.
Absolutely. And this is not just about you messing with or picking on somebody else. It is about what needs to happen. This diversity and fairness. A lot of the problems that we had, and someone said it just today or earlier this week on another radio show, it starts with the courts. It starts with who we stand in front of.
That's
and
right.
we can elect people all day, every day, but guess what? It is those judges that will affect us,
our lives,
someone in our family, and it happened to me. And when they hid that prior DUI, and when they did all those things that they did, it only came out because we fought for it. But we should not have to go in the courtroom and cross our fingers and hope that we get fairness. It should come automatic, and it starts with the benches. Give us African American judges and give us fair chances here on out.
Well, thank you. And we're going to move
Thank
real
you,
quickly.
Wanda Davis.
We heard you, Wanda.
Welcome.
Okay. You know, sometimes the sister Wanda, she be so nice when she said it. She talk long though. But she, but it's never, heated. She got a little heat under her right now.
She did get some heat.
Because this is a serious situation that we're in.
It is.
It takes me back like Sultan.
Let's go to line 4, Jacob.
Hey, peace be unto you, sisters. How y'all doing?
Okay, good.
Good afternoon.
Quickly, Brother X asked who we gonna call. I'm gonna call the Ghostbuster, God Almighty, and I'm gonna keep hope alive because he mentioned that this white supremacy is a worldwide thing. So I'm gonna stand where I am, flat-footed, and rumble. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Y'all fired too fired up. You got me fired up.
Great. That's great. That's what we need.
That's what we need. More people to get fired up.
Our blood. Brother Jacob, our blood is here. We don't have to cut and run. We built this country, and we paid for it. Our ancestors built it for free, and got nothing for it. And do you think we're going to cut and run? No, we belong here. We built it.
Right.
We built wealth for people.
Yeah. But you know what? I see what all that I hear. They say Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. I see we gonna have to make it that, because it's not that yet.
No, it's not.
I believe that you sisters are in the vanguard of making it the sisterly affection part. You know, you know, they're voting in the Congress on reparations. That if there was any people in the history of man from Adam and Eve that deserve reparation, is not that us. But why do I feel like it's going to be just a bunch of hot air blown around in that room today?
Well, you heard that Lindsey Graham said he didn't know who they should pay, and that they couldn't afford it, but they can afford a war. They can afford all kinds of things.
They can always afford a war.
They can always afford a war, but they can't afford to take care of the people that built this country.
Well, they're you know, believe me, the Ghostbuster, God Almighty, He's going to take care of all of them. They won't. I don't even think all of them together got a decade left on this planet, so we ain't going to have to worry about that. Young people, take your positions and get ready to rumble. That's all I said. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to line one, Yusef.
Yes. I want to speak on the brother that called the brother X.
Yes.
Yeah. I bet you're talking about African Americans should pack up and leave and go somewhere, find somewhere to get away from this country. But then he said something about a black man was beat to death in Canada.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Where are we going? Yes. Where do we go?
Anyway, he said himself that all over we're being, you know, gunned down, we're being beat down. So, you know, like, we got to fight somewhere along the line. And it's like, you know, when I was a child growing up in child welfare, and I would go to school and I would be bullied, and I would find myself on the ground. Once I got up and started fighting back, they stopped throwing me to the ground. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Once you start fighting back,
that's right.
You alone.
Got to have some backbone. Got to stand up. Can't fall down for everything that happens, because a lot of us, you know, talk amongst ourselves, but when they get in the room, and I've had a lot of experience about this over the years, you know, people come in, yeah, we're going to do this, yeah, we're going to do that, we're going to tell them this, we're going to tell them that. They get in the room, they clam up, oh, yes, sir, we really
the only
like
one
it.
talking.
And they said, I got nobody with me.
That's right.
No one with me.
Well, that's not right now, because we are with you.
That's it. I got all my sisters with me.
That's right. That's right.
Line 3. Elias?
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
All right, I don't know how to start this conversation, but I'm
just started.
First and foremost, our young people do need to take over and trying to make things better, especially in our community that's Black and Hispanic. But it starts off with the parents, right?
Yes, the parents have a lot to do with it.
And my idea is for us, for your radio station, WURD is the top of the line. It's the best, because we have a lot of...
We agree with that.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We need to chase and go and try to get the other radio stations like Power 99 FM, 103.9, although they have a little 1-2 second commercial, keep peace on the street, they have to emphasize it more, because these are the radio stations that attend a lot of dysfunctional homes where there's no parent at home, and our children right now, instead of focusing on education in a consistent basis in a home where it should be done to respect teachers, we have these musicians that they rap all these songs about how much money, how they got this money, and about guns, and calling ourselves the N-word. This is consistent in these homes, in these environments. That's number one. So is there a way we can try to get Power 99 and those radio stations that spurts out those negative songs to congregate with us and create commercials that would say, for example, this Power 99 FM, we're emphasizing that, about education. Kids, respect education. Parents, take ownership of your kids to focus on education.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to look at.
And also, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Also, commercials that if you see anyone any drug dealing going on in our community, let's take our streets back and report any drug dealing.
It sounds like those are public service announcements that you are suggesting that should be made.
Correct. And how can we, as WURD radio station, try to
But we can't influence another station. This is an African American owned station,
right?
That's as being African American / Hispanic. My parents are half and half. That's what we need to attack. And another thing, I'm out attacking council. I want everybody to know that I'm attacking the council members because they have this bill about these stop and go
yes
stores in our communities.
You got to make it quick because we're about to go off.
It's been 25 years that they've been going and to create this bill to control them, and council is 25 years. You got to be kidding me. That's 25 years of a lot of young lives. Because these people perpetuate, these owners in the bodega stores perpetuate this drug epidemic that's going on in our community. We're selling all these K2 and crack pipe paraphernalias and stuff.
Okay. So we want you to continue to listen to us. Call in next week and we can talk a little bit more about it. So we're coming to the end of the show. It's gone by really quickly.
It sure has.
We've tried to hit on some important issues. Let's go around the table. Rita, let's start with you.
Okay, so gun violence was a huge topic for us today. So I just want to say that I believe gun violence is a condition of poverty. So when the leadership and the stakeholders convene to talk about the gun violence that's happening and the cause and effect, consider the cause and effect of poverty when you try to craft a solution. The lack of economic opportunity has contributed greatly to the undeniable rise in poverty among our community. The rise in violence is then the effect of the lack of economic opportunity. It starts with the educational system, and that system failed our children. So when you come together and you convene to craft a solution, remember that the lack of economic opportunity within our community here in Philadelphia is one of the main reasons why the gun violence is so high, because our children and our communities don't have any hope and they don't have any way to care for themselves and their families.
Emma, real quickly.
And I agree with the issue of poverty, and I think people really don't see the reality of poverty and how it impacts all of our lives in so many different ways. And there was recently a study, a Pew study, that said that there are 400,000 people below the poverty level. So now if you add another 300 to 400,000 that are in poverty, and to the ones who are below poverty, we have a lot of, that's how we get 27% of poverty in this city, 26%. And so I think that we need to do more with the poverty issue and how it's impacting our lives and our family and our children.
We thank you for listening to us today, and we will see you again next week. We thank our guests, Wanda Davis. We thank all of our callers.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Wanda.
That have called in today. And certainly we wish, again, Kayla's mom, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And Kayla, take us out.
Listen to Word Radio on the go with the Word Radio app. Search for WURD in your favorite app store today and take us with you wherever you go. Stay connected to Word Radio, independent Black media.
Word Radio and Love Now Media celebrate 11 days of love stories by honoring acts of love that paid it forward. Dr. Walter P. Lomax Jr. was a medical doctor and entrepreneur. His daughter, Sarah Lomax Reese, remembers.
So my dad had many expressions of love in terms of his city, the city of Philadelphia, his South Philadelphia community. I think one of his most public expressions of love is WURD. You know, that was really him giving voice to the community that he loved. But I think the most unknown act of love and paying it forward is the fact that in 1994, he purchased the plantation where his family were enslaved. It's an 18th century plantation in King William County, Virginia, and it was his great-great-grandmother had been enslaved. It's called Aspen Grove, and we actually renamed it Jubilee Farm when we bought it, when he bought it and my mom bought it. and they proceeded to purchase almost 800 acres around the house, and that was adjoining the plantation. So to me, that is just a beautiful kind of full circle experience and example of showing love for your ancestors, showing love for your family, and showing love for the future, because this is something that is now a part of our family's legacy that that we really cherish and are nourished by.
Love stories, because love fuels the work. Share your love story at wordradio.com or lovenowmedia.com. Love Now, pay it forward.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on Word Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
3 hours. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country, and good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our hangar studios in New York. Today is Juneteenth Day, and for you that don't know the history of the day, during the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln issued a proclamation called the Emancipation Proclamation. He issued it in September 1862, saying it would go into effect January 1st, 1863. That's why you see in black churches, and many black churches don't understand that, watch night service started not just as a celebration of a new year, but they were watching at night for the clock to strike 12 to see if Lincoln kept his promise that the enslaved would be free January 1st, which would have been midnight 1863. But it declared that all enslaved persons in the Confederate States in rebellion and not in the Union were going to be freed. This excluded the 5 states that later were known as the border states, which were slave states that were not in rebellion, Kentucky and Maryland, Delaware, Missouri, and the counties of Virginia soon to form West Virginia. And so 3 zones under the Union occupation, the state of Tennessee, Lower Louisiana, and Southeast Virginia. But more isolated in terms of the geography at the time was Texas. It was not a battleground state. Thus, the people that were held there enslaved, the Emancipation Proclamation did not cover them unless they escaped from that state, and planters and other slaveholders had migrated to Texas so they could escape the fighting, and many brought their enslaved with them. And most enslaved people lived in rural areas more than 1,000